What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Codex Station's Comic Character of the Week. You know the drill. We're taking one character and giving you a deep dive on that character. I'm your host tonight, Sal, the Slab Guy. Right over there is Dan Kelly, and of course down there is the Ric Flair of Comics himself.
Woo!
We're waiting on Chris to join us because he will be joining us tonight, so that will be good. So we're just going to do a little bit of pre-show. How you guys doing?
Yep, doing good. You talk for a second. There's something I need.
Okay. I will talk for a second then. Picked up some blind bags today. I did my I picked up a lot of Mark Spears Monsters blind bags. So I did a recording of unbagging of all of them, which was pretty cool. And Keith is in the house. What's up, Mr. Keith? How you doing, buddy? Glad you joined us tonight. Go. I'm trying to make our text a little bit better. Where is our text? There it is. We want this, and we want red. Makes it kind of stands out a little bit better. There you go. I was rewatching the podcast with you and Sonny today, and I was noticing the text was the black and white text. You could hardly see it when you guys threw up on the screen.
Yeah, I don't know why Sonny likes doing it without the, without the
colors or something
on there. Yeah. What's up, Mr. Keith? That's his thing.
Yeah.
Because it automatically comes up with whatever it was last used as, right? So he's got to,
I don't know. I think they updated it now. I think it always defaults back to that black and white one.
Oh, I didn't know that because I was going to change it, but I was like, well, he must have had it set like this because he wanted it. But yeah, you're right. Like you can't see anything.
Get some Kid Flash in here. Yeah.
Yep. Some Kid Flash.
Careful. That'll get you sent up the river.
I didn't say Flash the Kid. I said Kid Flash.
Music.
Oh, that was a good one from the diaphragm.
No
word from Chris yet, huh?
Nope. We'll call him.
All right.
We'll do it.
Can't look directly ahead of me or I will literally go blind because I took the regular light bulb out, and where I work, the street lamps, one of the fixtures for it just fell off the other day, and my boss was like, "Oh, we'll get it replaced. Get this company coming."
Hey, buddy.
So I had this like LED
time for the show.
This big LED light bulb in it. So there's nothing wrong with that. So I brought it.
All right, let him know.
See what it looks like in a in just a regular lamp. And I put it in.
Trying to connect.
Okay.
And I don't have a lampshade for it, so it's just extremely bright if I like look up from my computer. Yeah. Man,
dude. Caps game they were 0-0, and all of a sudden now it's 3-1 San Jose. It's like, jeez. Yeah. I stopped watching it, and they went to shit. Jeez.
So that's what happened once you turn away.
Yep.
Well, the other day against Montreal didn't look good, and then
they pulled that one out. Pulled that one out of the fire.
Nope.
Hey, I'm actually going to the women's hockey game that's on Sunday. The PWHL.
Nice.
Yep.
Very nice.
Bringing my daughter to that. She should enjoy that.
Did you see the video of the kids fighting the other day?
Yeah, I think that was staged. I think that was staged.
Well, yeah, but they were. I mean, the goalie came in and really
clobbered somebody.
That dude.
I know.
So where were the refs?
Yeah, exactly. Because usually there's like 2 or 3.
There wasn't a ref on the screen.
Yeah, and that one goalie just came in. He just clobbered somebody.
Yeah,
I don't know. That was in Hershey. I don't know if that was staged or if that was a real fight. I hate to think that was a real fight because no one was in there to break it up.
So. Yeah.
So in the words of a famous poet. F those kids.
Wow. What
I don't
poet
know.
was that?
Some of those kids could like throw down. Let me tell you. You don't want to mess with some of those.
Or it was, or it was, it was F them kids.
And who was that said that?
I don't know. Was it a Michael Jordan meme?
Okay.
For while where they had the like he didn't really say it, but like where they had the black and white picture of his head and it had the little the Jordan like kind of outline logo thing on it, and where it would have the inspirational message. Normally like in the Nike ads, it just said "F them kids."
That's rough.
Yeah.
That is rough.
So does Chris have Verizon? Is he having problems because of Verizon?
I can't tell you that. I'm not sure what his provider is. Does he have you? Does he have your info?
Yeah. I'm connected to him on Facebook. So.
Are you talking to him now?
No. I only sent him the link.
So maybe ask him if you can help, or
Yeah. I'll send him a thing here.
Yeah. I'll see. Yeah, he was very excited.
Yeah, I think Chris has some plastic cup with a piece of twine on it. It's just extended really, really far.
Yeah, there he is.
There we go.
Okay.
And...
Oh,
maybe not.
Oh, almost.
Why you have no camera? You have no camera. There it is.
What's up, fellas?
There it is. Speak of the devil, he may appear. You wearing the same shirt as
me. Am I wrong?
What's that?
It used to be a 9.
It used to be at 9. We switched it back a couple months ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta quit smoking.
Yeah. Look, let's say he's gonna, no, come on. You need to do it like the old pulling a jug. Yeah, you're not doing it the right way. It's supposed to be resting on your elbow.
I'm such a pig. I don't use cups, man.
Yeah.
Let me just say that's a nice picture of ass on your wall there.
Yeah. Yes, it is. That is a nice ass picture.
That's a nice ass picture on the wall there.
Look at that.
All-Star sponsored, of course. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
See this this beautiful image here Gary got me. It's very nice.
Okay.
Michael Cho. Yep.
Very cool.
Signed by Mr. Cho himself.
Nice.
Which one?
This one?
Oh, nice.
It's even rumored that he touched himself while he signed it.
That's what he signed it with.
Is that
wow?
Yeah. He dipped it in ink.
Talk about increasing the volume on the value on that one, huh?
He dipped it in ink. That's a dink, isn't it?
Oh, I saw what you did there. That is a dink. It's a pink dink.
Put that thing away.
Yep. Oh, hilarious.
What's up, Dan? You look so upset.
Do I?
You got resting grump face.
Oh no, sorry. I was just I was looking at something, trying to. Here we go.
Dan got rid of his coach and put him in the NFC East. I mean, that's not helping me one bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, Harbaugh's going to the NFC East probably.
Yeah,
Giants, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the Giants, whatever. The Giants, the New York media is going to eat him alive because he is so arrogant. And, he does a lot, team and this, and, it's fine. But he's very, very arrogant. And whenever the media starts questioning any decision made, like, why did you not run Derrick Henry here? Why did you make this play or that? He just gets arrogant and defiant. And it's one thing to do that in the Baltimore media market. It's a whole other thing to do that in the New York media market. They will not, those reporters will not have that. And it's not going to be one of them will ask him a question. He'll give a snarky, arrogant answer and then move on. It'll be one of them asks a question. He'll give that answer. Then the next one's going to double down on it. And then the next one's going to do that.
Yep, they'll eat him alive.
Dan's predicting bad things.
I'm just predicting that he's going to be on the back page of the post and stuff a lot because Yeah, I mean, whatever. He's a good coach for a while, but you also have to remember he's he's never been an offensive or defensive coordinator. The highest he ever got was he was coaching the secondary in Philadelphia, and he was special teams coach, I think, for 1 or 2 years. It was 1 year or 2 years, and then the Ravens hired him. So he's never going to be a guy that calls plays. He's never going to be, someone that just says the play call is not great, I'm going to take it over. And the guys he hires, he's loyal, but he's loyal to his own detriment, because even when all kinds of other people are saying you've got to make a change, this isn't working, again, the defiance of and the arrogance of, no, this is my guy. I mean, they say that's one of the things that got him ousted in Baltimore, is that they told him they wanted him to get new coordinators, and he said no, and they're like, all right, you're gone.
Well, I mean, I get it, but I think
I don't know.
I mean, I think the Giants will be better with him than they have been the past couple of years, but that's also not a real high bar to jump across.
No, it isn't, and it's why if he didn't get a head coach job, I wondered where he would go, because he wouldn't get a coordinator job.
Yeah, he can't.
Yeah.
He's never been a coordinator,
right?
And it's not like he accepts special teams, and he's not going to go be a special teams coach.
No, because that would be such a demotion. Absolutely.
Like, if I don't think there was ever a doubt he was going to get a job. It was just which one did he want. But if for some reason he didn't, like the insanity of Belichick not getting a head coaching job in the NFL after he left New England, if he didn't, I think he would have just taken the year off. I don't even know if he would have gone into a booth. I think he just would have taken a year away.
Well, I think everything with him depends on what his girlfriend said to do.
Oh, you're talking about Belichick.
You said Belichick, yeah, right?
No, I said the insanity that Belichick did.
Right. And I was saying Belichick. Yeah, Belichick didn't. I think did what his girlfriend wanted him to do. So
well, the only team that interviewed him was
Atlanta,
and they based on them, clearly they should have hired him.
Yeah.
I'm saying if Harbaugh didn't get a job, that I think he would have just taken the year off. I don't think he would have gone into the booth or anything. I think he would have just retired.
Well, Tomlin supposedly is taking a year off.
So. What's up, Mobius?
Hey, Mobius.
So what a turn of events that the Pittsburgh and Baltimore coach, the longest tenured coaches, are gone. And yeah.
What a turn of events that the only coach in the AFC North that didn't get fired was Zach Taylor.
Yeah, how about that?
Of the Bungles. Did you see what Bisciotti said when they asked him, when Mike Preston asked him, like, hey, Tomlin's out there, what did you think about that? And he just kind of laughed, and he was like, that'd be pretty fucking wild, wouldn't it? Like, and then he said, he's like, well, he did this, what Tomlin did after the Steelers beat the Ravens in the final game. He's like, he's like, that kind of disqualifies him in my eyes.
Yeah.
All
right. Well, Pam missed out.
Yep, Pam missed out on the sports talk. That's all right. She can catch it on the replay.
Yeah.
All right, guys. What do you say we start this show off?
Let's do it.
All right. Here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Codex Station's Comic Character of the Week. I'm your host, Sal, the Slab Guy. Over here is Dan Kelly. Down below me is the Ric Flair of comics.
Woo!
And, of course, right there is Chris. I can't believe I ate the whole thing. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing all right.
Ready to talk about this kick-ass character we got going on?
I'm going to try to.
Yeah.
All right, Dan, why don't you go ahead and give us the intro on it?
All right, so he first appeared all the way back in Flash issue 110.
I got it.
Shocker.
Got it.
I was about to say everybody that has it raise their hands. All right, well, do you know the month and the year it was released?
All right, I'm going to say Flash Comics 110. I'm going to say it was a 1959 issue.
It was 1959. And the month?
Cover date or the month it was actually released?
I don't know, whatever it says on Wikipedia.
March.
Wikipedia says December.
Oh well.
But I
Well,
also
it came out in December, but the cover date.
Close enough. It was a month.
yes, it was a month. And do you know what issue it was when he got that Kid Flash costume, the one that's sitting in front of you? Because he did not.
He didn't have that the whole time. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Mobius. Yeah, because originally
Hey, all right. Thanks, Mobius.
He just had the regular Flash costume. It
He was a little ready. I'll take a stab. 135.
Yes. Raise your hand if you have that. No, you don't, Sal.
Oh wait, I thought we were talking about a Venom comic book. Sorry.
He was created by writer John Broome and legendary artist Carmine Infantino.
Infantino.
He had a great run on the Flash at the end there. Origin wise, it's what'd you say?
Amazing work.
Yeah. Origin wise, not a real detailed origin. They pretty much just recycled the Flash's origin. He's the nephew of the Flash's then girlfriend, later wife, Iris West, and he was in town visiting her. He was a big fan of the Flash, and Barry was watching him one day and took him to the crime lab, and just like a lightning bolt came and hit chemicals that doused him in electricity and chemicals and made him the Flash, the exact same thing happened to Wally West and made him Kid Flash and became
that whole family is bad luck around him.
Lightning struck twice.
Yeah. It made you think that anytime they would have needed another speedster, they would have been like, all right, stand here by these chemicals. Why? Wait a second.
Come here.
Wait a minute.
Not the maintenance man. Get out. Shit, too late.
Then just have Captain Marvel come over, like say it. Shazam! Look, we got another Flash.
Well, it's better than how Jay Garrick got his powers.
Hard water.
Yeah.
He inhaled hard water.
Yeah, which doesn't even make any sense.
You've never inhaled hard water vapors?
No.
At least chemicals and lightning.
You have to get high all the time. That and Jenkum.
Not since college.
Anyway, so he then became Kid Flash, the Flash's sidekick. He was one of the founders of the Teen Titans, along with
the founder of the Teen Titans that was in Brave and the Bold number 54, and it was Robin and Aqualad, just the three of them.
Yes. And then when Barry died in Crisis, what'd you say?
And I have that too.
Raise your hand if you have the copy. Okay. Then when Barry, the Flash, when Barry died in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Wally became the new Flash and took his place. What kind of chemicals would police levy?
All the fun ones.
All the confiscated ones.
Well, all the confiscated ones.
As far as powers, it all really boils down to he's got superhuman speed through his connection with the Speed Force, and he can use that for a variety of things. Obviously, running fast, he can vibrate his molecules so he could pass through solid objects. It used to be that they would explode. Now he can do it without making them explode. He can use it to throw lightning occasionally. He can use it to time travel without the use. He's fast enough that he can do it without the use of the cosmic treadmill that the other Flashes need. He has the ability that he can lend speed to other people to make them faster, or just to make them heal faster. He could steal speed from them to make himself faster. It all just has to do with he run fast.
He fast.
He real fast.
He fast.
Fast.
Yes.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. Well, Dan, this is your pick this week, so why don't you go first on how he works best?
I like him, where he's, with the, running missions and stuff with the Flash family. Especially under, when Wade and Johns were writing him.
Mm-hmm.
And, and to an extent, Mesner Loebs too, but really like under Wade and Johns, he, would have the Flash family in there a lot. Wade created and introduced Impulse, and had Jay Garrick in there a lot, and
brought Max Mercury back. Yeah,
you brought Max Mercury, and really, just took a kind of unused, honestly, nothing kind of character from the Golden Age, and like, essentially recreated him because he was.
You know what his original name was?
It was Quicksilver.
Yeah, right. See, absolutely. They had to change it because they lost the rights to it, and so they had to give him Max Mercury, which I think is a pretty cool name.
It is. But then they had the other names,
Yeah.
But I mean, they really built up the character from, almost to the point of an original character, and they suggested Quick in there, and Johnny Quick would show up occasionally, and time traveling. The whole Flash family before it got even bigger to now where I think it's too big, but I liked him with them. And even though he's been in the Justice League for a long, long time, I like him better as a member of the Titans than as the Justice League. Because I always feel like Barry is the Flash of the Justice League, not just because he was a founder, but Wally, because of the unique nature of the Titans, where they were all kids and sidekicks when they formed, and then they grew up together, to the point where the obvious next step would be to eventually graduate to the League, and we kind of saw them taking over for the League a few years ago. But I like him better with them because the relationships he has with Nightwing and with Arsenal and and Cyborg and all these guys is a lot deeper than it is. He's friends and is respected by Superman and Batman and all them, but it's different when he's with the Titans.
And all of the if we're gonna we can kind of throw in Speedy and Wonder Girl and count them almost as original Titans. But
because Wonder Girl joined like
she Brave the Bold 60
a few issues later, and Speedy would like go on adventures with him before he was officially a member.
Of all those originals, Aqualad's the only one that was never a member of the Justice League.
Yeah.
All the others at some point had served as a member of the Justice League.
Well, and now in DC now, everybody's a member of the Justice League.
Well, that is very true.
It's because he smelled fishy.
Is that what it was?
Around him.
I thought it was those.
He smelled like a
purple
can of
eyes.
sardines.
It was those purple eyes, man.
But because you saw the Titans grow up, and he went from being Kid Flash to Flash, and Dick went from being Robin to Nightwing, and Garth went from being Aqualad to Tempest, and went from Speedy to Arsenal. Like they all grew up into their own identities.
Yeah,
that Flash.
true.
It is. That is Flash Zero behind me. The Wear and Go cover.
Very cool.
It's up
Very
there,
cool.
Sonny. So yeah, even though he's fine in the in the JLA, and it was interesting the relationship they made with him and Kyle, because it's like, oh, it's the new Flash and the new Green Lantern, despite the fact that by the time they introduced Kyle, that in real time that that Barry or that Wally had already been around for like 50 years. But even in DC time, he'd been active as a hero for like 10 years before Kyle ever got the ring.
Yeah. Very true.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah,
All right,
but
Chris.
because he was the Flash, he was now the Flash instead of Kid Flash. He was still considered, and he was new to the League. He was still considered, the new kid on the block.
When Morrison did the JLA, like it was all the original members except for him and Kyle, because they were kind of like the legacy characters. But Wally had been, because Wally had been in the Justice League Europe when it was him and Crimson Fox and Power Girl in a very unfortunate costume, and who else?
That Power Girl costume was horrible. Was that the yellow and white one?
Yes.
Hal
Jordan was on that team.
Hal Jordan was at one point. Aquaman was at one point.
Yeah.
Was it Nort? Was it Nort part of that team?
Nort.
I think he may have interfered a few times, but wasn't he part of Justice League Antarctica?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Him and Big Sur.
Big Sur, yeah, I remember him. Taking it back.
Those killer penguins.
Yes. Nort. Nort had a great part in the Human Target story years ago. Oh, it was great.
You want to be partners now?
Too funny. All right, Chris, what works best for you?
I love him as I'll tell you
Hey,
what.
Boosh.
Hey, Bougie.
Hey, Boosh. I love him as a Titan more than a JLA member, like Dan was saying. But I love that he is such. And I was talking to Gary about this earlier. That we're often talking about the JSA when we talk about legacy characters, and we kind of neglect to include characters like Nightwing and the Flash, Kid Flash becoming the Flash.
Well, Wally does have a great relationship with Dick.
They are best friends. I heard he's best friends with Dick.
Yeah.
Does he get in touch with him often?
Often. Sometimes he rubs them the wrong way and they get in an argument.
Well, that's bound to happen.
But he always finds a way to hug and make up with him.
Well, Dick will spit on him, and then eventually
we're going off the rails now. You got Chris started.
But yeah, he's just a fantastic character, and it was really hard to pinpoint. This is what is great about it. What I love about him is that it's really hard to pinpoint any one thing he's done that's great, because he's been in so many big events. I mean, he's always there, even if it's in the background.
Yeah.
Oh, Morrison's JLA was fantastic.
Oh, I loved it.
And it was real good to start, because it went from Morrison to what I think Wade took over after that, and Joe Kelly was in there. It was a good long run of that being really good.
Listen, Morrison can be hit or miss, but he was hit on that JLA.
Yeah, he was. Like I always say, he's a hack, but sometimes he knocked it out of the park.
Oh yeah, he was stepping up to the plate, and he was knocking that whole run.
Yeah,
he did
that was fantastic.
It sure was, and it was. Mr. Keith is right. It was epic, because it was after so many years of the listen. Beetle and Booster were fun. I loved it. It was
the
great.
League.
Right, but to me, JLA was the big seven. And after a Midsummer Night's Dream miniseries, Morrison, they came back.
That was
those characters. It was, and they came back with that relaunch of the Big Seven, and it was magnificent. It was great. Yeah, epic. Epic was the word we speak.
No, Booge. We all love JLA, and it was funny, because Midsummer's Night Dream. That's the book that put the Big Seven together, and they already knew they were going to use that to launch a new Justice League book. Yep. But they didn't have Morrison write. They knew that Morrison was going to write it, but they didn't have him write that. They had Wade and Fabian Nicieza, because at the time Fabian Nicieza was like the big Marvel X-Men guy, and they were able to advertise, "Look who we got from Marvel."
Yeah. And Wade's always such a solid writer anyway. You can throw him on anything, and he's going to crank out something incredible.
And to kick off that I know we got off on a tangent here, but to kick off that JLA run, that JLA 1 cover was, hell yeah. You looked at that cover, and you had to pick that cover up, right?
Yeah. And the story was fantastic. The White Martians.
Yeah, that first
I was like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
No.
Well, if you haven't read it yet, it came out quite a while ago.
Yep. Very cool. All right, Chris, is that all you got for what you like best, or did you miss anything?
He's just a phenomenal character, and I'll go into what I don't like, what they've done with him later. Of course, I think it's all the same for all of us, but
yeah. 3 words.
Yeah.
It'll be 3 words.
Definitely. All right, Gary, what works best for you?
I'll piggyback on that with the legacy. I think it's great, because when we think of the legacy with JLA, with DC, we always think of the JSA characters, but there's a JLA legacy too. And I love him. I loved him as a Titan. I love the fact that when we read the New Teen Titans, these characters were maturing before our eyes. And the great issue where Wally gives up being a Titan and he's going to go back to college, and Robin gives up, that costume and becomes Nightwing. These guys were aging and, becoming something new. And at the time, I was about that age that the characters were supposed to be there. So it was, I thought it was kind of a, it hit me where I was in life. So I loved that a lot. And then I loved I really loved him and Kyle as the newbies in the JLA in that Big Seven run, where you still had these other 5 that were these archetype heroes that were the old
They're
guard.
gods among men.
Yeah, they were the gods, right?
Yeah.
And you got fresh perspective because a lot of those stories were told through the eyes of Connor and through Kyle and through Wally.
Yeah.
And then you even had a great issue, I think it was 9 or 10, where Connor came in and had to save the JLA from the key with his dad's trick arrows. And Connor didn't use trick arrows. So it was wonderful to see those stories told through those young eyes, looking at these pantheon of gods that were, that they were serving with.
Yeah. That old school story that works, that fish out of water thing, where you don't know if you're good enough, and you're those characters are able to express doubt in what they're doing.
Absolutely. And it just gave the league a different dynamic. So as much as I love him as a Titan, I might have loved him when he first stepped up to the big leagues the best.
Well, it was interesting too because you have the 5, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Martian Manhunter. You had the 5 founders, and then Wally wasn't, he wasn't Barry, but he'd been doing it a long time, so everybody in the league knew him. They knew what he's capable of. He wasn't, like tripping over himself or anything, but he was still not one of the founders. And then Kyle had just gotten the ring, had just become Green Lantern, and was still figuring stuff out too. So it was those kind of different tiers.
Absolutely. Wally was the elder statesman of the two.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right. For me, you guys hit a lot of points that I was going to bring up. Definitely liked him in the Titans. For sure. That definitely works better for me. I also like the legacy aspect with him pairing up with Kyle. The Faster Friends series, that was a great series, and that was a great series. There was also another one, but it wasn't a standalone. It was like one of the first team ups between Kyle and Wally, and they were bickering at each other because they were both trying to prove something, that they were just as good as their mentors, or their seniors, you might say, and they're bickering at each other, and Kyle says they're battling Dr. Sonar or something like that. I think that's what it was. And Kyle turns to him and goes, "Why don't you just go break the sound barrier," or something like that. And right there, they figure out how to beat Sonar, and they all of a sudden come together and start working together to beat him. And I think it was like 2 issues or 1 issue. I think it was 2 issues, but I forget. But it was in the GL Volume 3 one, when it was mostly all Kyle stories at that point. But that was a great story. But I love the banter and the interaction between those two. So matching up, yeah. What's that? Oh yeah, that's true. That was good. So yeah. So that's what I really
I love how they're almost, they bicker like brothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
They help each other, and and when one of them's in doubt, the other one supports them. But at the same time, they give each other so much crap, which is what brothers do.
Very true.
It's what friends do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there was the relationship between Hal and Barry where they were like best friends.
Yeah.
And, so it was a different relationship with Wally and Kyle, but they still had, they still had that friendship. And I remember I think it was JLA year 1 when they're telling the story, and they're kind of telling it through, or this one part, they're telling it through Barry's point of view. And he's talking about when the league first formed, and Hal's kind of arrogant and rubs people the wrong way, and Barry's saying, like, at first kind of thought he was an idiot or something, and then he goes, as I just like heard him speak and stuff, I realized, well, this guy's a cop, because Barry was a cop, was a crime scene guy, and as he heard Hal talk, he's like, oh yeah, he's a different kind of cop, but this guy's a cop.
Yeah, he's a cop nonetheless. Yeah, it's a big green galactic cop.
Yep.
Very true.
Absolutely. And it was a great friendship between a kind of a buttoned up Midwestern guy, which is what Barry was, and then Hal Jordan, a cocky test pilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I loved their relationship throughout the years. It's been really a fascinating thing to watch too.
I agree.
Yep.
I think they really did Hal wrong with the whole making him a bad guy thing, the whole Parallax thing. It soiled. It
Eh.
kind of soiled the character for a while there.
It did. It did. But
Full
Well,
circle.
that was at the time when they got to get rid of Hal because they introduced Kyle. They got to get rid of
Yeah.
Ollie so they can introduce the
Mhm.
new. They're getting rid of all these older characters so they can introduce the younger versions of them. So one of them made a bad guy, one of them they killed.
But like every good story, it always returns to form.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Main guys always
Very
come
true.
back.
Very true. All right, so let's move on to badass moments. And Dan, what do you got for badass moments? I know you got about 50 of them, probably.
No, I just kept it to 3.
Oh gosh.
So in Flash issue 54, which I am going to be like Gary and have with an arms
There
race.
you go. He's got it. Look at that.
It was a really cool issue where he's on a flight because they're transporting this villain he caught him and the authorities, and some other villains get on there and they attack and they shoot a hole through the roof of this plane, and the stewardess that is on the cover with him that he'd been flirting with, because this is before Linda was even introduced, that he'd been flirting with, gets sucked out of the plane and just goes flying out. And he takes care of the situation. Then he realizes, like, oh no, the stewardess is gone. So he even says in it, like, I've never tried this before. I hope it works. He leaps out of the plane, and then he's just free falling through the air trying to find her. And then makes his way there and gets her. And then literally they're just falling out of the sky. And now he's like, all right, what am I going to do to save us? So, he has a couple different techniques that he finds interesting ways to use his speed for, with running to create friction and doing the arm rolling thing and that. But literally just leaps out of a plane, not really knowing what he's going to do, and still saves this person, and then gets a date with her.
There you go.
There you go.
Bet she was really grateful.
Yeah, wouldn't you be? And All Flash #1.
There you go. Cool.
This is after Wally had disappeared and Bart had taken over as the new Flash, what did that series run? 10 issues? And the Rogues kind of got there's character Inertia, who was like the evil Impulse, the evil version. I think he's a clone, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And kind of tricks the Rogues into killing him, and that's how his series ended. And they were all like, "Oh crap, we didn't want to do this." And Wally comes back and decides he's just going to, he is furious, and he goes after the Rogues, and figures out pretty quick that Inertia is the one that's kind of all behind this. So he has that power where he can give speed and he could steal speed. And what he does to Inertia is he steals his speed to the point that makes him a living statue. And he can't move, and he leaves him. In fact, I gotta show the end, and leaves him literally as a statue, where people think that he's a statue, and they put him in. Yeah, the Flash costume is iconic.
Yeah, it is.
Mucking with it now, but he puts him in the Flash Museum with all of these statues, and everybody thinks that he is a statue. He said, "I immobilized him permanently. He's still conscious. He still sees and hears and thinks in real time, but he's trapped for eternity in a frozen body, forced to stare with eyes that take 100 years to blink, and the ghost of a man he could never be," because he put him, if you can see, he put Inertia's statue there staring at Impulse, or the Inertia statue staring at Impulse.
Mm-hmm.
And like he said, he's forever trapped like that, and he can't blink, so he's just staring,
and his nose was perpetually itchy.
Yeah, completely aware of everything around himself and not able to do anything. I mean,
that's hell. That's a hell.
You talk about a fate worse than death.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is from Flash issue 100.
That's a good cover too.
That is a great cover.
Yeah, DC did this for all the, for most of the books at the time. They had a Superman one like this. They had a Wonder Woman one.
Green Arrow.
Green Arrow, yeah. I don't remember them doing a one for Batman though.
I don't know. I don't think there's a Batman one.
I don't think they did one for that. But yeah, they
Batman
did
don't go in for foil.
that.
So that was the final part of
hockey pads.
the final part of this terminal velocity big event storyline, and the Flash had gone into the Speed Force, and they'd been making a big deal about how once you go in you can never get out, which that's what we call foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
and manages to, when the villain is beaten, getting ready to be beaten, or the villain Cobra is getting ready to win, I should say, and Flash Wally finds a way out of the Speed Force to save the day, and then everyone thinks like, oh, that was like the last vestige of him because he kind of showed up like looking like pure light, and everybody thought he was done after that, but he managed to find his way out of the Speed Force and came back to Linda, and then they went on and defeated the villain and lived happily ever after, and then not happily ever after, then happily ever after, then not. And it's comics, and it's all a soap opera with spandex and superpowers.
That's why we love it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just the fact that he was able to make it out of the Speed Force was, when no one else could do that, was pretty badass.
Yep, that is very cool. All right, Chris, you're up. What's your badass moments?
Well, oddly enough, 2 of the 3 badass moments I have are from that JLA run we were just talking about.
That's all right.
The first one is from JLA number 3, where they're fighting the White Martians. Now, mind you, the White Martians have all the powers of John, the Martian Manhunter, as well as some enhanced powers. And the Flash was fighting their super speedster, Zoom. And he ran at him at just under light speed so he could gain infinite mass, and he punched him and knocked him out. So I always thought that it was incredible that he was able to knock out a being that powerful, using what became known as the infinite mass punch.
Yeah, that was cool.
And my second badass moment, of course, is from Crisis 12, when he becomes the Flash. I always thought that was just a cool step up.
Is that what he did, Chris? Is that what he did?
Yeah, that's exactly what he did. And the read of it is fantastic. It's at the end of that huge cosmic story, and in my opinion, the best thing DC's ever done. And it's all winding down, and they're kind of capping everything off. And one of the last things that happens in it is Wally decides he's going to take up the mantle of the Flash to honor Barry. And the third badass moment is in JLA 85. And that's the one where the Martian Manhunter was possessed by
Hronimir?
the Burning Martian.
Yeah, what is it? Hronimir?
Hronimir.
Yeah.
And there was then he nuked a town in Korea, and the Flash saved all of those, all 523,000 residents within 0.0001 microseconds.
That's fast.
He carried him 35 miles away. Now, the book states that that's a hair's breadth short of the speed of light, but people have done the math on that, and it's 13 trillion times the speed of light is what he ran.
Wow.
In order to transport that many people 35 miles away in that amount of time. So I'd say that's a pretty badass moment.
Yeah.
I'd say that was pretty quick.
I just love the Flash. The Flash, the sci-fi stuff they use and the physics that they use, with that one exception that human can run at that speed,
Flash fact.
is always, it's just a fun. It always makes for a great read when you've got a good writer on it.
I agree.
He
But
missed
yeah,
it.
those are my three.
Eat a real big sandwich after that.
Yeah, Wally used to have to eat a lot to increase
Yeah.
his metabolism back. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Uncle Gary, what you got for your badass moments?
All right, let's see what I got for badass moments. All right, in the in Flash 141 Volume 2, Wally is being chased by the Black Flash, and the Black Flash is an avatar of death for the Flashes. He touches you, you're dead for speedsters.
Right.
And so the Black Flash is faster than he is. So he just kept running as it's gaining on him. And he did the only thing he could do to survive. And he took it. He ran to the end of time. And the end of time, there is no death. There was just nothingness. And the avatar, the Black Flash, just crumbled out of existence.
Yep.
When he reached the end of time. And I thought that was pretty good. I mean, so the Black Flash was their Grim Reaper, and he outran it. So I just thought that was a pretty cool, pretty cool.
I'd love to see the Black Flash versus the Black Racer. That'd be a pretty cool.
Oh, there you go. My other one is just kind of fun, is in the JLA Queen of Fables arc. All Wally did was get a book from the library. All he did. That's all he did. The Queen of Fables had sprung out of books, and she had this power. Anything in a book, she could make it come to life. And so she could sometimes be trapped into a book, but then whatever imaginative thing was in the book, she could will it into existence, and she could follow suit, and she could come into existence and bedevil everyone. So the Flash, had to go get a book from the library where she couldn't, escape from, while the Justice League was getting her in position to trap her in another book. So sure enough, he had the book, he was ready, and they trapped her in a book, and they were like, well, he goes, don't worry, she's safe. She'll never get out of this. And
it was a copy of Swank that he got from Chris's house from underneath his bed.
You can't open the pages on that. That's impossible.
That's why she can't get out.
That's why she can't get out. Listen, I said not imaginative. Those copies of Swanky has, those are very imaginative. Or leave nothing to the imaginative, if you will. So it ended up, the book that he trapped her in was the United States Tax Code.
Tax code, yep. That's what I was going to say.
So that was great. So I mean, I just thought
about the tax code.
Yeah, it was just brilliant. It was because this was in 2001, so it was a 2001 tax manual.
That's genius.
That's just right. It's just a genius little nugget. It was Wade that wrote that, and it was just brilliant.
That's
and
wonderful.
It's just a lot of fun. So I just thought a badass moment is he just got a book. Now, when we get to beatdown moments, I've got a pretty good beatdown moment in the return of Barry Allen, which there may not be the last we've seen of this. Barry Allen has come back, and he is undermining everything. He's undermining Wally at every turn, and he's, Barry Allen is back, and he's acting very un-Barry-like. Well, as it turns out, it's not really Barry. It's Zoom. And Zoom, I know, what a surprise.
Color me surprised.
And this is after Wally has been,
he's so
Jay
red.
Garrick, Zoom's broken Jay Garrick's leg in like 6 places. He's put a beat down on the whole Flash family. And Barry is demoralized, just his psyche with, thinking his mentor Barry has come back and dogged him in such a terrible way. So when yeah, exactly. When he realizes this is really Zoom, he's kind of still at a low point with his psychologically, and Zoom is faster than him, so he's got a lot to overcome. Well, he does, and he stands up, and he takes it to Zoom, and at one point Zoom is still trying to delude himself. But I'm And if it helps if you remember Lloyd Benson and Dan Quayle's debate, because this is there's a famous vice presidential debate where Dan Quayle tried to compare himself to John F. Kennedy, and Lloyd Benson said, "Mr. Vice President, I've met Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. You are no Jack Kennedy." So that to that effect, Thawne is saying, "I'm Barry Allen," and Wally, there's a great look at that face right there at the lower corner there. Wally says, "Is that so, Mister? I know Barry Allen, and believe me, you're no Barry Allen." It's devastating. Just devastating backhand.
The artwork on that at that time was so inconsistent, because you'd get like really awesome spreads like that, and you'd get some panels that would be really great and detailed, and then you'd get other panels in the same issue, sometimes on the same page, that'd be like, you just like outline this and leave it. Like it was spectacular, and then at other times just bad, and that was in each issue was like that.
Yeah, and that was, like I said, but that's a great 2-page spread. That's a great spread. And it was a great use of the words, you're no bad, just like the presidential debate. And that's signed by Wade and the artist, Greg LaRock.
Scribbles.
Nice.
Scribbles.
Yeah. So,
nice.
Anyway, Scribbles. So, but
Scribbles.
that's my other badass moment. Getting Zoom the beat down he deserves, and throwing a little bit of American political reference in there too. That's badass to me.
And Dan Quayle went on television and spelled potato wrong.
Yes, he did. You forgot the E. You forgot the E.
He said you forgot the E.
You forgot the E. Dan's not old enough to remember this.
No, I remember that.
I
was a kid, but
Dan might have been the kid that was spelling it right.
Yeah, he might have been.
That was Dan at the board and looking at him like, what are you talking about?
Looking at him like he was the dumbest man on the planet.
Oh, that's one of my favorite insults, to just look at someone and be like, "You got to be the stupidest motherfucker to ever walk the face of the earth."
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard that from my dad a lot.
There's a lot of competition for that. All right, those are my three.
All right, very good. All right, so for mine, I have a couple of one of them was that the Dark Flash, or the evil Flash, the Black Flash. That's right, crumbling at the end of time. That was one of my awesome ones. I got another one I could sub in for this, but that was just an awesome badass moment for me as well.
That is a cool moment.
Let's see. One of the ones I really liked was during the Rogue War, which I'll get into a little bit more in depth. He's like thinking like a general. He's not a brawler. He's feeding this, the speed for like crowd control and not offense, because he's disarming multiple rogues in microseconds. He's separating factions before they can escalate. He's redirecting the villain's targets so they target each other and not the innocent bystanders. I'll get into more of the story because it was one of my stories as well. But the rogues had separated and formed another version of themselves, right? And they were, there was a big brawl with a lot of innocent bystanders. But the way he neutralized them was just amazing, and I love that. That was in Flash Volume 2, 220 to 225. But yeah, we'll talk more about that when we get into the stories. Another one is Flash 108 to 111. This is the one, I think it was called Dead Heat. This is where he's turning Savitar's obsession against him, and it's Savitar believes that like speed is everything, right? And this is at a point where I believe they had just changed the Speed Force, that if the Speed Force was absorbing the speedsters, if you ran too fast, you became part of the Speed Force type situation. Yeah,
and this is the Savitar, the cool character from the comic, not the lame one that they did on the TV show.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with the CW whatsoever. So, so he lets Savitar overextend himself into the Speed Force, and he wins by not racing at full speed initially. So I heard a quote on this one. He's almost like he's weaponizing patience, which is the complete opposite of what Savitar's mindset, Yeah. And so that was pretty badass for me. And then my last one I have Um, here we go. Nope. You know what? This one was the same one. Shoot, I got that one twice. I wrote down 2 different versions of it because
because it was so badass.
It was so badass, but
It was double barrel badass.
Because you were moving so fast, you didn't even realize you wrote it twice.
I know, I did, because I was grabbing several of them, so I was making my notes, so it's just grabbing. So anyhow, I'll not worry about that one.
You're grabbing several of what?
I was grabbing several of them, man.
Several of them.
There were so many out there, I just couldn't.
It was him and Wally with Dick.
Couldn't be fast enough. I could not be fast enough.
That's utterly ridiculous.
I'll use that as my last badass moment, guys. So yeah.
Well, remember some of the stuff that they used to do with him too. Like he used for a long time had the thing where he just had to constantly be eating to, produce with him, so to have enough energy. And then they used that on the John Wesley Shipp TV show.
Right.
They and they got rid of that, and that was always something that was kind of interesting. And they had something with him that I thought was interesting that they didn't really deal with too much, but it was, and I forget what comic it was, but he was like rebuilt a building that got destroyed, build it super speed, and like, oh no, you knew how to do that. And he said, yeah, I went and read a book, at super speed that taught me how to do it, and I can get that knowledge, but it leaves my mind just as fast as I got it. So it's not like because otherwise they would say, well, why don't you just go super speed, read everything in the library and just become a genius? He's like, I can't retain the memory that quick. He's like, I could do it for simple stuff like this, or not simple stuff, like I could do it so I could do this
task.
Yeah, but I'm not going to. And I always think it's funny every time they would tell him or Barry or anyone, there's like, well, why don't you just fix this, or why don't you just pick it up at super speed? And they're like, it's still boring for me just because I do it. It's super speed for you, but it's normal speed for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So I wanted to talk about the food thing, where he's always carrying around food from the TV show. I remember he had that briefcase full of food, and he bumps into somebody and knocks it open, and like 1,000 candy bars just fling out on the floor, and they're like, why are you eating so much of that candy? You're gonna give yourself a
We're gonna get the diabetes.
Yeah, diabetes. Some diabetes. But yeah, that
his costume, like his suit was just him wrapping himself in the Speed Force.
I'm sure it did tingle.
It did. All right, so let's move on to what we don't like.
Phony.
Yeah, let's move on to what we don't like. And Dan, what do you got for that?
Heroes in
Crisis.
That was so. It was so poorly thought out that DC almost immediately retconned it. We didn't have to wait years, or everybody knew this was such a bad idea that they almost immediately did that flash forward, miniseries, and just kind of we're getting rid of this, because it's one thing where you could see it happening with some characters, with them losing control and killing other ones, but not Wally.
No.
I was going to say the losing control. And maybe maybe he lost control and accidentally killed somebody, but he would never cover it up with a murder.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what was up. Yeah, he would never cover it up and then kill somebody to cover it up.
And then
kidding me.
And then do the whole thing and then setting the whole frame job up and give up on himself and kill himself. It's so out of character. And I remember reading that series, and as a big Booster Gold fan, because they kept making it seem like it was going to be Booster. And I was like, oh, it better not be Booster. And then it got to the end and it was Wally. I'm like, well, this is just as bad as if it was Booster.
I would rather it had been Booster than Wally.
Well, Chris and I were discussing this today. I could have maybe gone for it a little bit if they had used Speedy, because he'd had the drug problems and these other things. So maybe I could have bought into it a little bit with him. But with Wally, no way at all.
Well, and then with Roy, then they brought him back, and then he had superpowers, and then he didn't. And the whole Heroes of Crisis thing, I said at the time, it was a very interesting idea.
I think it was a brilliant concept,
but they mishandled it so much. And I get it that, and I said at the time, I get it that, these writers, know they only have a finite amount of time, but that's a story that should have been something that had been seeded for years. What it was, they mentioned the place. They mentioned it like one time in a Batman comic and one time in another comic, like 2 or 3 months before, and then the series happened. It should have been something that was mentioned, not even have to be shown, but something that was just mentioned occasionally here and there over the span of at least 3 or 4 years, our time in DC Comics, and then built up to, hey, now we're finally going to show you this thing. But they just rushed into it, and it just, and I think that
it was a dark mark on a character's legacy that was just perfectly developed over the years,
and a character of lightness, of goodness.
Yeah.
Just I think the Heroes in Crisis concept was really brilliant. To think that the heroes would have PTSD, absolutely, with some of the things that they had suffered. And I think the best part of the Heroes in Crisis was when they would do the pages broken into 9 panels in the classic format, and the characters, different characters, would speak a little bit about the traumas they had faced. I thought a lot of that was just fantastic and brilliant. I would have bought the whole book just to have different perspectives of the characters talking about their trauma and what they faced over the years a little bit. It was so good. But the story that hooked it together was just terrible. And the underlying concept that Wally was the one.
You feasibly could have done it with analog characters.
Yes. And, it seemed like it was also just a way like, hey, here's a way we can just kill off a bunch of characters that, nobody really cares about. And and then they retconned years after that where they brought all those characters back, and they're like, "Yep, we brought them back to life. They're living in the future now. They're living their best life." It's like, God damn, I know that
they can't let go of a character.
I know.
Was Sanctuary? Wasn't that it? Sanctuary.
Yeah, Sanctuary. Right? I know. Tom King is DC's guy, but they were just like, "F you. We're just going to undo every single part of this." Of this series. And then after, when they did Flash Forward, they gave him that terrible costume, the like red and dark crimson costume, and he's got that terrible costume now. And then just as another thing, when he was introduced, he was fast, but he always said he's not as fast as Barry, he's not as fast as Jay. And then they made it to kept getting to the point where they made it where like he's the fastest that they're of all of them.
Well, that's because of the Speed Force.
They redesigned the Speed Force.
The Speed Force.
Yeah, and like, and he's the elite level, which, is fine. But, I remember for the longest time, they always said, all right, Barry's the faster of them, and Jay's the fastest speed-wise, but since he's older, he doesn't have the endurance to keep it up the way that Barry and Wally do.
Know how he feels. So,
they have pills for that now.
But like speed, like for short distance, he'd be the fastest. But he just doesn't have the stamina or the endurance that they have anymore. But then it's not so much that I'm
a Charlie horse.
It's not so much that I'm that I don't like them making Wally the fastest. But I guess it's more so with Jay that as they were doing that, they kind of diminished Jay over the years, where now Jay is like, oh, well, he's not as fast as Wally, he's not as fast as Barry, he's not as fast as anyone. Like no, he was the fastest, for a while there. It's another one of these, like, you don't have to diminish the one character to pump up the other one.
I agree. I didn't mind so much I didn't mind so much that they increased his speed like that, because they used the Speed Force to explain that it imbued itself.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind that. I just, and it's a minor, it's just a minor gripe. Like,
Jay is still my favorite. I mean, out of all three, I mean, now Barry and Wally are, they're incredible characters of their own right. But I mean, I just love Jay.
The helmet of
Well, it's
Mercury.
JSA too. I mean,
So-
Jay's got
Yeah.
the only one that's just got a projectile that he carries with him all the time. You know,
exactly.
and as many
Exactly.
gripes as I had with the CW show when they introduced Jay on there, and then the way that
With the helmet.
the way that they,
the helmet.
and
it was
then
great.
we thought it was the one guy that was Jay, and he turned out to be Zoom, but then when they really introduced the real Jay and it was John Wesley Shipp, I was like, oh, that's awesome. And then the explanation that they gave for the helmet, where it was like the helmet of the soldiers from his world, you know, like the war, I thought that was pretty cool.
John Wesley Shipp is a cool dude. I met him once.
I had too.
For a while. He's just an awesome
Yeah,
guy.
at the All-Star Con. Yeah, we had him at the con that Kamikaze used to be a part of. Yep. He was a good dude.
Yep. All right. So did everybody chime in on anything else they wanted to?
Yeah, I think that was one where we kind of all chimed in together since we said Heroes in Crisis at the same time. I figured it was important to us to do that, and it just showed how much that story. And like we talked about Tom Morrison. I mean, not Tom, but Grant Morrison being hit or miss. So is Tom
absolutely.
King. Tom King is hit or miss, but because when he hits it out of the park now. And I love Tom King mostly when he tells stories that are not in continuity.
Yeah.
Let him color outside the lines and tell this great story, but we're not counting it as canon, you know. And he's great. This was just, it was supposed to be canon. That was just not good. Not
and
good.
it's not just Tom King.
Fan.
It's DC editorial that approved this and said, "Yeah, go ahead and do it." And then immediately was like, "I think I made a mistake."
It was universally panned. I think it was hated by everyone that was a fan of Wally.
Yeah, it was hated by people that were just fans of DC.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And again, the real shame is the whole idea of a comic.
Right.
There you go. That's very true. It's a wonder they don't pull a hammy more often. Is the whole concept of sanctuary and the heroes needing that, I thought was really brilliant. And it was just wasted.
Yeah, that's why I said they should have had something where it was built up over a few years in various DC comics, like after a big event, you know, when one of the heroes is like taking a little hard and they say, "Oh, you got to go to Sanctuary," and there should have been something that was mentioned over years to kind of build up. Like, well, what is everybody like? What is Sanctuary? What is this? Not just we're just going to jump right into it.
Yep, I agree.
And since we're on the subject of flashes. Did that young fella in the Justice League movie never see anyone run before? The guy who played the Flash?
Right, I know.
Ezra
Miller. Has he never run? Has he never gone for a jog? I mean,
I know.
Yeah,
absolutely terrible.
He was.
I'll say it. Terrible.
He was terrible. He was a terrible choice for that character.
You know what? For live action, I really enjoyed the fellow that played Barry on the CW.
Oh, he's excellent.
Grant.
I like. Yeah,
see, I liked the show at first, and I ended up souring. I soured on it after a couple seasons.
It got very silly.
I soured on it after a couple seasons, but I kept watching it, and then by the time I got to the last 2 or 3 seasons, I was like, I can't do it with the Scooby Gang, and like we're gonna win through the power of love. Like, all right, Huey. Because that's what it was always. It was the power of love that brought us together and saved us. Like, oh my God, shut up.
What was Iris's dad's name? Was Joe?
Go lift the weight and look like you'd be an actual superhero.
Joe always was crying. It was like every episode he was crying. I was like, what the fuck? I just can't. I can't watch this anymore.
The runner shouldn't be muscle bound. So I mean, a runner is supposed to have a slim frame. So I was fine with that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Dan, on that one. I think I got through. I think it was season 3 where I was like, if I missed an episode, I was just like, whatever. And then,
I watched them all just because I got to be a completist. But yeah, they were bad.
Well, it got to the point where, like, because it was like the first 4 or 5 seasons wasn't. It's just and they would have the one villain that would be like the kind of overarching villain for the season, and then the little episodic ones. But it was like, all right, the first one was Thawne, And then it was another speedster in season 2. Like, all right, well, that one was really cool. And then it was another speedster in season 3. And then it was another. I'm like, the Flash has more villains other than guys that just run fast.
That's true.
And Tom Cavanaugh, I thought, was the best part of the show, where he had like the different version of the same character he played every week. And I hated Cisco on there. He was so annoying.
Oh God, yes.
Mm-hmm.
The Council of
Wells.
Whatever he was.
Oh,
Vibe.
Was it?
Yeah, Vibe.
Good old Vibe.
Of course he sucked. He was playing a guy from the Detroit League.
Listen, I liked it when they introduced the elongated man. I
like that until they dug into the guy's past and were like, no.
Yeah, he had to go.
I'll say this, and I love that they had John Wesley Shipp on there, where first he was Barry's father, and then they had that one episode where Barry mentioned something about Jay Garrick, and he's like, oh, funny. And while he was he's like, yeah, Garrick was my mother's name. And right then I was like, oh, he's going to be Jay Garrick. That's going to be awesome. And I'll say this, the guy, Rick Cosnet, the one that played Eddie Thawne in the first season, I thought he would have been a much better choice to play Barry than Grant Gustin.
He looked more traditional to the part, but I think they wanted somebody to look younger.
Yeah. All right, let's jump over then to top covers. Dan, I got yours ready to go if you're all set. Oh, that's mine. Don't look at that.
Well, go ahead, do yours first then. Oh.
Nope, there you go. I always go last. It's fine.
All right. Well, the first one is the one that someone mentioned I had behind me, the Flash issue 0. I just love the pose of him running forward like that, looking at me in the great Mike Wieringo cover. And I like, the stuff around him where you got the little thing of Impulse, you got Barry, and you got him as Kid Flash, and the accident where he's getting his powers. And I just thought, that was a really cool thing. And DC actually had a lot of good covers for those 0 issues.
Yeah, that's the post 0 hour stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that was right after 0 hour ended. They did this. The middle one is actually a cover from a trade for Born to Run. And again, great Mike Wieringo cover. But I like how you have him as he starts in his original costume, where it was just the Flash costume. Running into the Kid Flash costume, then running into his version of the Flash costume, which was like slightly altered the way they did the belt and stuff. And then
and then the logo, the bigger white spot on the logo.
And then the kind of sheen to it instead of being cloth. And then you kind of had Barry in the background there looking over it. I thought that was just a really cool thing. And then the final one, 211, all the way on the right, Michael Turner, fantastic cover. Michael Turner had some really good covers for him. And I love this one where it shows him like, it's like if you were to snap a picture at the exact right nanosecond when he was running by, like this is kind of what you would see. Like you would kind of make out a form, but not completely. And then the red streak. And I like how the background is black, so it really makes it stand out.
That's beautiful.
With the gold accents to his costume, that was such a smart design. So you could use that to, show the speed and just show those streaks of gold in the running.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where is Chris? There you go. Chris, here you go, buddy. There's yours.
Those are comic covers I liked.
Okay.
No more explanation.
That in-depth analysis.
The JLA one, I just love it. That's I believe that's Brian Hitch.
Yeah, it is Hitch.
I just love the buoyancy of that cover. It's very bright, and Flash is out front and just leading the charge. It's great. I love that Superman and Batman in the back, kind of overlooking things. I love it. It's beautifully done. And that was done at a time when I think Porter was doing most of the covers on that book, if I'm not mistaken.
And he's doing the interiors.
Was he just doing the interiors?
he was doing a lot of the covers, and then he was also doing.
Yeah, he was doing all the interiors.
Yeah, but that one happened to be a Hitch cover.
That I just always have liked that one. That second one is just a beautiful Titans cover. That's a Cardi, and it's a classic.
Yeah.
That
would if we were doing a Titans episode, that would be one of my covers because it is so great. Nick Cardi, the book, like you said,
I just love the book. There are a few covers I like. There's a set of Wonder Woman comics that almost had the same theme with a giant book on the cover. I just love that. It just screams of dark adventure. She's getting pulled in there, got all these goblins on the top. I don't know what they are, aliens, but
from another dimensional, other dimensional.
Something bad's going down there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I love this one on the right, which is I believe a Perez.
Yeah, that's Perez.
Yeah, it's Perez.
It's just such a simple, stark, beautiful cover, and it speaks volumes.
It's kind of a play on the famous Spider-Man cover.
Yes, yeah, it's just beautifully done.
That cover. There was a nice homage to that cover when Perez died and Adams died together.
Oh, wow.
Within short distance, and they had one of them as Adams and one of them as Perez, and they had the uniforms of the characters that they had done so much work on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You got the classic cover of Wally walking away with Dick.
Wally, there you go.
Yep.
Leaving all their clothes behind them.
Yeah, it'll never not be funny.
Yep.
All right, Gary, here are your covers.
You never outgrow dick and fart jokes.
Never.
There you go. That's right. All right. So here we go. The one on the left is 145. That's Steve Lytle.
Lytle?
And I just Lytle.
That's a good one.
Yep, it's Steve Lytle. And I just love the the lightning in it. I love the fact that all the flashes are lined up running there. Yeah,
and all the
really
covers from that storyline were like that, where whoever was prominent in that issue would be kind of doing that same thing.
That's so cool.
Absolutely, they'd be in the lead position there.
I love the blur on that.
Oh, absolutely! I love the lightning coming off of his coming off his logo and his belt and the earpieces. The one on the right, just a great. I love where they have the after images, where they're running and you see it. And that's a great Brian Boland cover. And I just love the motion of it, getting up there to, get the bad guy who's got a hold of Cyborg. Was that Gridiron? Girder. That was it, Girder. And to get a hold of Girder there, just so great. And then the other one was, who's the last guy you would expect to do a Flash cover? Well, of course, that's a Bernie Wrightson in the middle.
That is gorgeous,
when
man.
He did the Ghost storyline, and it added something for me to have it there. And if you look, you got to notice he's punching through Johnny Quick.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's punched through the corpse of Johnny Quick there, the reanimated corpse. But that's just a great. Bernie cover, and look at the horror on Wally's face as he's doing this. So,
I wouldn't even guess Bernie did. If just looking at it, I was like, oh, that kind of looks like David Finch.
Yeah, little bit, but it's Bernie, and I love the Ghost logo. So the annuals, that ran through the Justice League members, Aquaman, and Batman, Flash, Green Lantern. This was a storyline that ran through all of them, and I loved how they had the little ghost has little haunting, smoky like letters that are just hanging in the air. So just really cool trade dress on those that annuals, and Wrightson did the covers for all of them.
And going along with that 145, you had the one for 149 was cool too, where it was just Wally and Barry running.
Oh, they were all very good. I think I chose this one because you got
all of them. Yeah,
you got such a varied assemblage of them. But yeah, they were all very good, and they're really cool when you look at them in sequence.
Oh yeah.
The whole Chain Lightning storyline of those. So it was just really, really cool production design for DC to have done those like that.
That is so cool. Does anyone remember the Johnny Quick speed formula?
3x4AYZ. Is that it? It's close, right?
Some of those numbers are in there.
Yeah.
3x2 parentheses 9YZ parentheses 4A.
There it is. That's it.
There you go.
Nerd.
Did you know there's a formula to stop that too?
Is there?
Yes, there's a reverse formula.
Is it called the 9mm?
No, that's funny, but I'll tell you the reverse form. Okay, so I have tried the speed formula. I can't get it to work, but the reverse formula to stop the speed, I've tried that and that works.
Can confirm.
Yeah, that's confirmed. When I use that, speed gone. Ain't no speed. So that one works.
What's the formula?
I can't remember, but there is a formula. It
involves sitting down.
Yeah, well, it's like the one you just quoted. It's just different numbers. but there is a formula to shut it down, if you will.
All right. So I guess we'll jump to my covers here. There we are.
Whoa,
all right.
There we go. That's a lot of red.
Z25Y parentheses 2AB end parentheses 6.
Dan, look how quick Dan looked it up. He used the speed formula. So, but yeah. And at one point I had that memorized like Chris
That's
did.
Cool.
The regular formula, but I didn't have the reverse one memorized. But yeah, the reverse one, everybody used it. It works. I can personally vouch for it.
Oh, dude, I didn't have it memorized. I looked it up.
Oh, okay.
It would be funny to have a T-shirt with the speed formula on the front of it, and then the anti-speed formula on the back.
That's a neat idea.
We should do that for the next Codex shirt.
That's cool.
All right, so for me, I got this volume 2, number 1, The Flash. I love presenting The Flash. The title itself, the new Flash. How it's on the angle. But
that was a great first issue to cover.
Yes, him racing against the Jets.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic right there. I can't tell.
The pages of legends.
I can't tell if that's like the smoke or the dust that he's kicking up, or is that the dust that the Jets are kicking up as they're going through. But it's right there in the background that gives you that.
That's an explosion he caused that he's running away from really fast.
That explosion is from what he just ate.
Yeah, Taco Bell.
Yeah,
3 double dip big
Taco Bell.
Yeah, what you don't know is that cover is really Chris cosplaying as the Flash.
Yeah,
it
right.
is. Yes.
He's running. He's running from the border.
Running from the bathroom. All right. Moving on. The second one is number 24. Actually, hold on. Let me go back to the first one. It was actually the cover artist was Jackson Juice on that one. So number 24. I love the way this is framed, where he's kind of like exploding through the cover. It looks like he's exploding through the cover for me. But that one is the penciler was Greg LaRock, and the inker was Tim Dizon. DZON. But yeah, I love the way that that's and the facial expressions on him are just.
That's great. The form's perfect.
Cool. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And it's a good thing that there was someone that could draw feet. For the Flash. Because
did you see him having to draw the Flash? You'd never see his feet.
You would never see his feet.
Liefeld would always just draw it as like, well, he's running so fast, it's a blur.
He'd give him treadmill legs.
But see, at least this would be a character where all the pouches would make sense. Be like, he's got to keep his snacks there.
Yeah, you got
keep the snacks.
I need snacks.
Rob Liefeld. I wonder if he sings the Beatles. He's got feet down below his knees.
Yeah, there you go. And for my last one is number 101. The cover artist was Jose Marzan and Phil Jimenez. I like this one for the angle that it's being shown at. Looks like he's jumping over or running over a police car,
It's
but
really
the
cool.
the electricity coming off of him, and I like also here the title has like electricity coursing through it as well.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that we don't get a crotch shot there, but I love it. Yeah, I dig it.
Well, for Gary's, we got a nice
Because then it
butt
would be
shot.
the Flash.
If we go back to
Well,
Gary's covers here, we did get a butt shot here for Gary's.
Yeah, you got some butt. You got
There
some.
you go.
Well, if you also look at Sal's middle cover, that's also obscuring the crotch. So
It is.
we see what Sal's agenda is.
To obscure the crotch.
Censorship.
Yeah, censorship. That's all it's all about. That's all me, baby. The censorship. Cover that character up. My God, man.
What happened?
Have you no shame?
All right. So what we got next? After top covers, we got essential reading. Dan, kick us off for your essential readings. Let me pull up your card here, which is going to be right there.
All right. First, we have they're all these are all from volume 2. As you can see, it's Flash 145 to 150 Chain Lightning. That is the story that Gary just had the cover from.
Mm-hmm.
It involves not just Wally is the Flash and the Flash family. It's got Jay and Jesse and Bart and Max all in it, but it's also got all these flashes from all of the future too, where there's a villain, Cobalt Blue, who was the unknown brother of Barry Allen that grew up bitter and resentful because he was stolen from the hospital and felt like Barry had the life he should have had. So he's going after the Flashes and has this gem. So they're going all throughout time because there's a prophecy that Cobalt Blue will kill 2 Flashes. And so they're going all throughout time combating Cobalt Blues. And you see all these different Flashes from the future. And John Fox is in there too, which which was a cool Flash that didn't get used a lot. And then you see all these other different iterations. There's the Kid Flash from Kingdom Come and the Tornado Twins and the XS from Legion of Superheroes. And Wally's the one that's leading all of them and is the one that figures out how to save the day. And shocker, because it's a Flash story with time travel, Barry shows up, which did kind of seem to be as great as Wade's writing was. He did kind of seem to use that a lot for stories like, oh, hey, Barry's going to show up here. But it was really cool the way it was done here. The next one I have, Dark Flash 152 to 159, picks up, after this storyline. I figured probably not a lot of people would have this one, but I really liked this story when it came out, and I feel like it's something DC dropped the ball on using this character in the future or using it after this, where it's a new Flash that shows up. Wally has disappeared at the end of Chain Lightning. This new Flash shows up, as someone earlier in the chat said, where he's got a darker red costume and it's got silver on it instead of gold, and really a really cool looking suit. And it's not revealed who he is for the first few issues. And then I think it's the 3rd issue of the storyline. It's revealed that it's Wally, but it's not the Wally from the regular universe. It's an alternate universe one. And then the way the story goes, you also see Wally and Linda who's forgotten, and only Bart remembers her, but nobody believes that she's real. They think she's just some figment of his like video game imagination. But you see them kind of trapped in the timeline, and then this alternate Wally, who's gone through some shit, and I won't say what because you should go read it. Here, and then they have the Wally that we know and Linda, show back up, and Abracadabra is the main villain, but there's other ones that show up as well. And at the end of it, as you could expect, Wally and Linda stay, and this other Flash, they explain why he has to leave, and he goes and jumps into the times, the times, or not the time stream, the hyper time or whatever it was they called it at the time, and he's trying to find his way back to his reality. and the first world, the only world it shows him going to is basically our world, the real world. And he picks up a comic and sees that this woman who was a Flash supporting character that he'd been dating, couldn't come with him, and he sees that she ended up being okay. And I really thought DC dropped the ball on this because it was Wally, but it was Wally that had gone through this really hard tragedy that that hardened him as a character. But by the end of this storyline, he kind of found his heart again. But he also had variations on his powers that that the regular Wally didn't have. And I thought that they could have done something cool, giving him his own series, and basically he just had like a almost like a quantum leap thing where just each story would be him showing up, almost like Marvel did with the Exiles, him showing up in a different reality, having some adventure there, and then going to the next one until he eventually finds his way home. But they didn't do that. They didn't really do anything with the character after that point. And then the last one I have, Rogue War 220 to 225. This one does focus more on the rogues than it does Wally, but Wally is still very prominent in it among other Flash family characters. And like Sal said, it's multiple teams of rogues, 3 different teams of rogues that all end up clashing. First, it's 2 teams, and then a third one shows up, and then Professor Zoom shows up, and then Reverse Flash shows up, and it was Jeff Johns' final storyline after a long, extremely excellent run on the Flash, and it was this big, epic storyline to end his run, and it's just absolutely fantastic.
I agree. It was great.
And such a great way to, like I said, to cap off a long run that had been really good, and to end it on a high note.
Yep, I agree. Good stories there. All right, Chris, you are up next. There you are.
Yeah, we're looking at the first storyline I chose was JLA JSA, the Lightning Saga. It's a fantastic story. There's not a lot of Wally in it.
It's awesome.
I chose it mainly because it's a JLA JSA crossover, and I just love them. But it does bring him back at the spoiler. It does bring Wally at the end of it, brings him back from the Speed Force that he was trapped in.
And Linda and the kids.
And Linda and the kids, yes. It's a great story. The art is fantastic.
Yes.
Who wrote that?
It was
it Johns?
I don't know I think it was Johns on JSC, and it was Brad Meltzer on Justice League.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. Meltzer. And the art is was that Inglesham?
I don't know. He was on JSA. I don't remember if he was at the time then, but the Justice League one was Ed Beans.
It was Dale Inglesham.
Yeah, and, he's fantastic. I love his stuff.
Yeah, and it's just beautiful. Everything he does with the JSA is just gorgeous. It's a great storyline. The art is phenomenal, and like I said, there's not a lot of Wally, but it is a big moment in the character's existence. Flash Volume 295 through 100. I chose that because it's smack in the middle of Prime Wade territory when he was doing the Flash. It deals a lot with Wally trying to really come to grasp with using the Speed Force since it was just introduced a few issues before in issue 91. It's a great read. It's a lot of emotional stuff going on there with him and Linda, and I believe the overarching villain in that is Cobra.
Yeah, it's Cobra.
And then, of course, any character we do, if they're in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, I'm going to say that's a must read. So,
I mean, it's thanks to that he became Flash.
Yeah, it's Crisis. I mean, there's nothing better in my opinion. I'm such a nerd.
Nerd.
That is my Bible.
All
But
right,
yeah,
Gary.
that's it.
All right, Gary, you're up for yours.
All righty, let's go with so the new Teen Titans Volume 20 was just a wonderful day in the life story, and where Wally, of all the Titans, Wally's the one with the most peaceful background, where his parents weren't murdered, or he didn't, he wasn't like, he writes this, he's writing this letter home to his parents in Blue Valley, and he had this idyllic childhood, and he writes to his parents about the other Titans, and how Cyborg lost his mother and then was in a terrible accident, and how he lost so much of his humanity as he was bonded to this machine by his father, and how Starfire was kidnapped as a young girl and tortured, and by these interplanetary enemies of Tamaran, and how Donna Troy had lost her parents, and there was terrible fire, and she didn't know what her past was, and then of course Robin's trauma. So it was just he's writing these, and he's trying to help them relate these people that he's with, and how he's so thankful for the life that he has. And it's just a wonderful day in the life issue, where they recount a few battle that they have, and the title of it is Dear Mom and Dad, and Perez and Wolfman were the co-plotters of this, and the writer and artist of it. And what's really wonderful is at the end, he's finally got this letter written, and here's a little bit of story time. And he goes, let's see, he says to his parents, "You encouraged me to be myself. You were always there when I needed you, and always felt I could talk to you and not be threatened by you. Because of you being there, I grew up into a full person who wanted to say something I really haven't said enough of. Mom and Dad, I love you so very much. Love, Wally." And he's licking the envelope, and he's in his civvies, and Dick Grayson comes in and says, "Hey, I'm heading into Manhattan. You need anything? You want me to mail that letter for you?" And Wally says, "Mail it." "Nah." And he hits his ring, and the uniform comes out. He says, "Mail it." "Nah, I think I'll deliver it in person." I just love that. I love that. And then he speeds off, and he's running across the water. So this issue has been him writing this wonderful, heartfelt letter back to his parents, thanking them for raising him in such a wonderful way, and supporting him as he's been Kid Flash in his career, and letting him grow. And then he writes this letter, seals it, and he's just like, "Yeah, you know what? I'll deliver it in person." I just think that is sweet, right?
That is fantastic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's just, and I know of all of us, I'm the sappy one, right? And
I don't know, man.
It's okay. I know I'm the sappy one, and I love little nostalgic things like that. And it was a lifestyle. It was a life I didn't have, the happy little life there. So maybe that's why it would have been really nice, the idyllic life. But I just love that. And then
they cut the last couple pages out where it's just him sitting on the couch staring at his parents reading it, and like, come on, hurry up.
Come on, hurry up. That's right.
And his dad gets to the part. What's this part about Dick's trauma?
Dick's trauma? Yeah. It was below the surface.
It's got some bruising.
Yeah, there you go.
Some internal bleeding.
All right. In The Flash, The Return of Barry Allen. Mark Waid, Greg LaRocque, Roy Richardson was the anchor. Wow, this was something. Barry's taken over the mantle. Wally's taken over the mantle of Barry, and he's doing his very best to live up to the name, and he knows he's got big shoes to fill, and he's doing a really good job. And then Barry comes back, and everything is great in the beginning, but then Barry starts to undermine Wally, and Wally's confidence just gets shattered during the course of this. And then during the course of this, Barry is shattering some other things like Jay Garrick's leg, and some other things that happen. And then, of course, it turns out to be that damn Zoom, and it's just
He's a jerk.
He's a grade A dick, and so it's just a really great storyline where Wally gets up off the mat, and even though Zoom, who's faster and has the upper hand, Wally gets him and gives him that beat down, and that's that great panel I showed you earlier. And then for Flash 787, Sal, can you go back to a picture and let me show some things for Flash 787?
Did he ever give Dick a beat down?
Twice a week.
Yeah, twice a week. All right. This is Flash 787. All right. I want you to see the cover. Chris, this is yours. I'm giving this to you.
Oh, thank you.
All right, guys. On Saturday mornings, what do we love to watch? We love to watch wrestling.
Oh, I did.
We love to watch cartoons. And we love to have cereal. And this is Wally with his kids having cereal, watching cartoons.
Oh, that's excellent.
Knocked out. Jeremy Adams read this. I don't know. I think I might have mentioned this to y'all when it came out that I love this book. I don't know. I think, Dan, you got this, right?
Yeah, I was still reading Flash.
Yeah.
That's a cool issue.
Jeremy. So anyway, there is the WAM, the Wrestling Across the Universe Galactic Wrestling League with Mean Gene Woodbean and Justice Lawyer are the commentators.
Yeah.
And they go to these planets, and they're in sector 2814 this time. They're on the run from the Green Lantern Corps. They throw up guerrilla wrestling matches. And I don't mean gorilla as ape gorillas, just like, freedom fighter gorilla. And this is it, Booge. This issue has it all.
You want Mean Gene?
Yeah, that's right. And they're watching.
Yeah. What you gonna do?
Wally and the kids are watching this wrestling pop up, and they think it's some kind of just some entertainment they don't know. And like, wait a minute, that's downtown. And so Wally races downtown, gets in the middle of it, and finds himself in the middle of a wrestling match. And then you have the big champion comes in, who is Omega Bam Man. So Wally gets mixed up, and as they're putting one of the wrestlers down, Wally ends up getting him pinning him, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to him, he's the champ. And so now he and Omega Bam Man have to form a tag team partnership on all these wrestling teams that come in. It is just stupid.
It's such a fun issue.
Fun.
Comics can be fun.
Stupid, but comics can be stupid fun, and it's okay. And at one point, they start calling the announce team starts calling him the Flasher, and he goes, "Oh no!" And he goes, Omega Bam Man said, "That's a cool name." He goes, "Not on this planet." So
and the artwork is great. I think it's Fernando Passarin that does
yes,
the art
it
on
is.
that. Yeah, his run on his artwork is spectacular because he had a great run on that and Green Lantern. I think he's doing Green Lantern now.
This also cuts to vignettes of Barbara Gordon and Dick Grayson watching on their couch, going, watching it, and Barbara's like, "Well, should you help?" He goes, "By the time I get there, this is going to be over." And so they're watching. Lobo is somewhere making a bet on the proceedings, and it is just so much dumb fun. This is a book I read, and I grinned from ear to ear as I read every damn page. And I don't know what higher compliment I can give to a comic than that. I was grinning ear to ear every damn page I read it. 787 of the Flash. This will not be an expensive book. Go out and get it. Chris, this book's coming to you, my brother.
I appreciate it, man.
This book will be for you.
I look forward to reading it.
And Sal, if I find another copy, I'll get one for you too. So
sounds good.
This is just good, stupid, fun. Comics can be fun. So
And that was Joshua
Jeremy Adams.
William. It was Jeremy Adams.
Jeremy Adams.
I couldn't remember if it was him or Williamson.
Yeah, no, it was Jeremy Adams. So
That's a really fun issue.
yeah, so I just wanted to show that off because it was a recent issue, and I didn't choose it for my cover. And he's talking to you. Tag in.
Yes.
Tag in.
Yeah, Omega Bam Man versus the Thing when he was a wrestler.
Yep, absolutely. So yeah.
Versus D-Man.
And it's funny. There you go. The commentary by me by the two wrestling announcers is great. It's just a blast. So
Okay.
all right. So thanks for letting me show that off.
All right. Cool. So that's all. That's all.
Yeah, that was my third one. That was a show and tell.
All right. All right. Very good. So here are my readings. I also had Terminal Velocity, Rogue War, and Chain Lightning. We've all covered these, I think, a little bit itself. So let me look here really quick. So for Chain Lightning, I believe in this one. This one where I like how Barry stops measuring himself against. I'm sorry, Wally stops measuring himself against Barry.
Dick.
Yeah, against Dick.
No, he's still measuring himself against Dick.
Yeah, he is. But he's proving like he's not a replacement; that he's like an evolution. You know,
Yeah.
I really pulled from this series. And I like that a lot. It also, of course, lays the groundwork for that Dark Flash saga as well.
Yes.
So that's a point I wanted to point out there. Rogue War. Oh my God, Rogue War was just fantastic. I just loved that and how it just played out. And with it's also a good standout series for Captain Cold because at this point, he's his rogues had a code that the Flash made them better villains. And the new set of rogues that are coming out, they're like, okay, we got to kill the Flash, that type of thing. It didn't really matter to them, but the old rogues had a code, and the Flash made them better villains. So, but anyhow,
no drugs was one of the code.
Yeah, yep.
That's why I can't be a rogue.
Well, not the old rogue set. Only the newer ones you can join in on.
Yeah.
All right.
And my gadget's a French tickler, so.
Yep. So, oh shoot! I got mixed up on my earlier comment. Chain Lightning is where Barry, Wally stops measuring himself against Barry. He proves he's not a replacement. He's the evolution. That's the point I was trying to point out in Chain Lightning. For Terminal Velocity, oh gosh, this was good because it changed the Speed Force. I think it redefined the Speed Force, and
the Speed Force had just been introduced.
Yeah, just got
before this.
Yeah, right. But I think it really went in depth into it. That type of thing. And yeah, so yeah, and of course, if you read a future where you were running faster, you should disappear forever into the Speed Force.
Yeah, he started really being able to function within the Speed Force.
Right, exactly.
Understand what it was.
Exactly. So that's all I really have to add. You guys did a great job of talking about these stories and points, so I don't really have to add too much to that. But definitely check out these three, especially Rogue War. I love Rogue War. I thought Rogue War was the best. So
it was a great culmination of that run of John.
Yes. Yeah. Indeed.
Yes, Rogue War is fantastic.
Yep. Yes.
He did, Boosh.
I'll say this for Terminal Velocity too. If you get the trade of it, the trade also includes issue 0.
Oh, there you go.
So it doesn't directly tie into it, but for whatever reason, I guess because when they do the blocks of books for the chains that for the trades, I guess they didn't have anywhere else to put issue 0 because it's kind of a standalone thing.
Okay, so for our last segment of the night, best writer, best artist, Dan, who do you got?
For writer, I'm just gonna be lame again, like I have been before, and pick 2 because I think there's two defining artists or 2 defining writers in Wally West, and that for me that's Mark Waid and Jeff Johns. Mark Waid had a quote once when something about how good of a writer he was, and he said, "I made people care about Wally West." Tells you how good I can be. Because remember what Wally West was before he took over. After he became Flash, when like William Mesner Loebs was writing it, like he wasn't really a super likable character then. He wasn't really super interesting. He was like running jobs as a courier so that he could pay his bills and and buy food, because he had, they were really playing into that whole he has to constantly be eating thing to keep his energy up.
Yeah.
And Waid really built up the surrounding cast for him. He introduced Linda, he introduced Impulse and Max Mercury, and he had Jay, playing a big part in the book. And, he really brought Jesse Quick in, and he really built up the Flash family to be this family of speedsters. And it was his run was fantastic. It's funny. It is funny though, rereading some of those older issues, because I haven't read them in so many years. Even under Waid, like Wally's kind of a dick. The way that Waid wrote, especially towards Bart, like Wally just treated Bart like shit for a long time, and he was kind of hot tempered then, but you could see how he wrote Wally at the beginning of his run and how he wrote him at the end, and how he had that character growth. And then John's just had such a phenomenal run, introduced so many new characters, so many new rogues, really breathed life into a lot of the older rogues that were just kind of, I don't want to say generic villains, but they didn't have the distinct kind of personalities and the backstories and the and made them, like, a lot of them kind of sympathetic too. And the way he did that with those characters, and then introducing Wally's own version of Reverse Flash with Hunter Zolomon, with Zoom, was fantastic. And Wally and Linda became parents there too. So I think those two are the two biggest writers that he has that have done the most for the character. And then for artist, it was tough. At first I was thinking Scott Collins, because I really liked the energy of his work, and the way he did. But ultimately I had to go with I don't know if I'm going to say the name right, Paul Pelletier. Yeah. He's the one that was the artist on the book for a long time with Waid, with
he did a great Aquaman run too.
Yeah, he had a great Aquaman run. He's done a lot of great stuff over the years, and Chain Lightning and Dark Flash. He was the artist on those two, so he's my pick.
Okay, all right, Chris, how about you?
For writers, I absolutely 100% agree with Dan. I'm torn between Johns and Waid, and in my eyes, Johns can do no wrong. But if I had to choose between the two of them,
don't. Dan's cheating. You can go ahead and cheat.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
That's right.
I would say I'd have to go with Waid, because I think he was more innovative with the character. He added more to the character, I think, than anyone else, and developed him more, and not just the character, but the world around him.
He's the one that made Wally, a character that people cared about. Before that, I think, because I, was reading the book before Waid, and it was kind of like you're reading it because it's the Flash, not so much because you care about Wally, but just because,
right? I agree.
You cared about the suit and the name more than you cared about the actual character. And not to trash William Mesner Loebs, because he did have some cool stories and stuff, but Waid was the one that really.
Yeah. Waid was where Wally finally found some, if you'll pardon the pun, traction.
Oh, I see what you did there.
And that was
as far as artists go, I'm going to have to go with Infantino.
That's right. Oh, going back to the old days.
Roddy Piper, I love him.
Okay.
I love Infantino's. I love how he draws people running fast. He's incredible to me, and he's a classic artist.
Yeah.
Yep. Very true. All right, Gary, how about you?
I was also in the Wade Jeff Johns conundrum, but we use Johns a lot on this show, so I'm going to give the love to Wade on this one when it's a pretty good toss up.
Mhm.
And Dan said, Mark Wade said he made you care about Wally. Perhaps Wade made Jeff Johns care about Wally.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like I had to mention them both, but I would, gun to my head, I would give the slight edge to Wade.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You wouldn't be wrong with either one because you're right. What Johns did to expand the rogues and all that was great, but I just don't believe he could have got, or it would have been harder for him to get there without the foundation Wade laid with making that character.
We all stand on the backs of giants.
Yeah. So Mark Wade is just the consummate comics pro. He's still doing it, right?
Yeah.
He's still doing it. And of course, hell, Jeff Johns is still rocking everything that he touches. But
they're both nice dudes. They're both pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Met them both. They both are really great. He signed Wade signed a book for me to Gary, my JLA brother in arms, or something like that, which was really cool because we talked a lot of the old school JLA stuff. But I love. Oh, Mark Wade claims to have original art from Brave and the Bold 28.
Oh
yeah! How about that, man? You talk about some valuable pages there, buddy.
Wow.
So
I liked the Baltimore Comic Con last year when I was standing there talking with someone. I look over and I was like, "Oh, look, there's Mark Wade digging through a back issue bin there."
There you go. The man knows the stuff.
He's approachable too. He'll talk to you.
Oh, he was nice. He was a nice guy when I talked to him. He signed my amalgam books.
Absolutely. In that great scene of Tower of Babel where Bruce goes to visit the graves of his parents and it's gone. It's gone. They've been excavated. There's just this big gaping hole, and it's such a great visual, jaw-dropping moment when you see Bruce drop the flowers he has, and you turn the page, and it makes your jaw drop when you see the big, giant, gaping hole where his parents were buried, and Roz has taken them. I asked Wade about that. He says, "Look," he said, "I had that idea for a while. I didn't know where I was going to use it." And he goes, "For years, I was scared somebody was going to use it or somebody's going to think of it." So that's kind of cool that was in his head, that he was worried that he had this great idea. He didn't know when he was going to pull the trigger on it, but he was so worried somebody would use it before he got to. So, yeah, great guy. So Wade's my writer. Artist, man, there have been some great artists.
Yeah.
I dug, if I was just going to go cover guys, I like Lytle. I really love the Brian Bolland covers were just so good. But for the interiors, I thought Porter did a really good job when he was doing it. Francis Manupel, I thought, did a really interesting job on it, though I'm not sure if that was Barry or that might have been Barry's version.
That was Barry. They brought Barry back.
Yeah, that was Barry. But I'm going to go with the guy that really did Dan a solid and drew his Thor on his Jam piece. Who was that, Dan?
That was Scott Collins. I
know you mentioned him. You gave him love.
The energy that he draws with, like Flash was such a perfect character for the style of his art.
And the way he drew the rogues was really interesting too.
Yeah.
He drew the rogues really interesting. So I think I got to give it to Scott Collins. And look, on Dan's great Jam piece with the Avengers, it's all done really well. Scott Collins kicked it up a notch by having Thor swinging the damn hammer and gave all the motion to it.
Yeah,
just so fantastic. So
it's amazing.
And was a good dude. I had talked to Scott, Mr. Collins, before Dan got to him. I said, I got a buddy that wants you to do it. He's doing a Jam piece of Avengers. It'd be really cool. Would you, be up to, checking it out and seeing? And he was, yeah, sure. Tell him bring it by. So he was just a great dude. And he's done some great runs on Avengers and things like that. So for me, really tough decision because so many good Flash artists, but there was just something. And Scott Collins has a really unique style. You look at his stuff, immediately, oh, that's Scott Collins. Yeah, so he's my guy.
Okay, very good. For me, writer, I agree with you guys. Mark Waid, hands down, he wins it 100% of the time, all the time. I like Jeff Johns, but I think Mark Waid did a lot more for the character, in my opinion. Artist, I had a lot more trouble with. I like The Rock. I liked Ryan. I liked LaRocca. There was just so many on there. I could not choose one. But if I'm forced to choose one, I'm going to go with Greg LaRocca. Is that right?
Yep, it's LaRocca.
LaRocca, yeah. I'm going to go with that.
So with the artist, you were stuck between LaRocca and a hard place?
Yeah, LaRocca and LaRocca.
Yeah, and that's not even mentioned. Like you said, the covers. Michael Turner had those great.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's right. Turner had some great covers too.
Yeah. Mike Waringo was on the book for a while.
Yes.
Jackson
Porter and
so many superstar artists have drawn him. We haven't even mentioned Perez.
Yeah, Porter drew him on Flash and
Justice League.
In Justice
League, yeah.
Yep. I think a lot of artists want to draw him because it's a really cool, dynamic character. And not everybody is suited for him. It's like I thought, the character. I know it's Barry, but when Manupel drew him for Flash, I thought it was really cool. But when he drew Batman, it didn't quite fit it to me as well as when he drew Flash. Yeah. So it's just certain art styles, I think, really lend themselves to, that character.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was telling Gary earlier that I had a piece of that original artwork from the Tower of Babel storyline, and it was a page.
You sold it
with the page where Wonder Woman hits the Flash with the big log.
Oh man!
And I sold it years ago, but I made a little money on it.
Yeah, well,
the guy that was my pick, Paul Pelletier, pretty sure I know he drew Titans for a while, and I'm pretty sure Flash was on the team when he was drawing that too.
He's a really good artist. Yeah, a lot of really good artists have drawn that. And look, and go back to Barry. When I first started reading Flash, of course, it was Barry. Irv Novick was drawing a really cool Flash book, and he had where they'd have the boxes that would explain what was going on. He always would draw these hands out of the boxes pointing at you.
Yeah, I loved that.
It was nobody did that. It was just
did
really
Infantino do that too, or was that just Novak?
I think it was just Novak, man.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I used to love that. That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Being old.
I know. Well, look, 3 of us on this panel were born in the 60s, so don't let Sal fool you. He's an old geezer, too.
I am.
Sal's my age, isn't he?
I think I'm a year younger than you.
Yeah, I think he's a year younger than you, buddy.
Were you born 69?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. 69, baby. All right, folks. I think we could go ahead and wrap this one up and put it to bed. Thank you guys for your stories, covers, and badass moments. Always good stuff. Thank you to our guys in the chat. You guys always help us out and commenting there. It's always great to see you chatting. And Mobius from across the pond, it's himself. Thank you for also becoming a coder level 2 on that.
Thank
guys,
you,
we will see you next week for a comic character of the week. Gary, it's your choice next week. Have you picked?
We will discuss after.
Okay, we will discuss.
Wait, are we
after.
doing next week? I thought we were switching to every other week.
Well, we were going. We have a few discussions. Okay. I think that wasn't changing until I thought February.
February, I thought. Yeah, I thought that too. Yeah. Anyhow, we do have some slight changes coming up to the program. Don't worry, it's going to be always some good action when it comes to comic character of the week. All right, folks. We will also see you on Saturday for Comics Unleashed.
Thank you.
We're going to show off our weekly pools. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Mobius.
Remember your Brown Lantern oath, kids.
What's that?
Remember your Brown Lantern oath, kids.
Yeah, remember the Brown Lantern.
The Brown Lantern oath. That's right.
All right, folks. We will see you guys next time. Take care. Take it easy.